Hey everybody, it's Bronco from Apex Vaulting. I have to do another video about run-throughs. In the prior video, I talked about central nervous system fatigue. I talked about a lot of different things and what causes run-throughs and what you need to do to work through them. We talked about not jumping too much, but I want to talk about a different perspective. So a lot of times, and I did bring this up, a lot of times people will post stuff about run-throughs and everybody's like, well, that pole vaulter's just being mental. And people will even post stuff about sports psychologists, and they'll talk about things like your amygdala flaring up and you have a fight or flight response and the vagus nerve. And, they'll try to delve into it like, okay, well, what's causing this? Like, why are you having this fight or flight? And sure, I think there is some truth to some of that stuff sometimes for vaulters. Sure, maybe someone feels pressure from their parent, pressure from a coach, and, attempting a PR, they just freak out. It's like if they miss, mom and dad are going to be upset, or coach is going to be mad. I'm going to lose my scholarship. Whatever the case may be. That could be. That could be. But I just, I find it really odd that so many people are very quick to call pole vaulters mental. And if we really boil it down, what do they mean? Dude, you're just being mental. Steps are good. Take it up. They're calling the vaulter scared. They're saying, dude, you're being a scaredy cat. You're inappropriately scared. You could handle this. Whatever this is, the grip, the pole, the run, the PR. Why being scared? And it makes me think. Pole vaulters don't strike me as scaredy cats. I think out of the track team, if we're talking about the whole track team, pole vaulters are pretty brave. I know even when I'm doing a session with someone who's vaulting for the first time, and they might come from a sport like gymnastics gymnastics has scary stuff. You're on the beam, you gotta do a flip to dismount, you can land on your head. A lot of bad injuries in gymnastics. And I have gymnasts come in, and I do the warm-up drills, I teach them some rollovers, we do a jumping drill, and we start real easy. I'm like, all right, let's combine that jumping drill and rollover. We're gonna start from one left, jump up, tip hits, and just pull yourself into the pit. And I'll have athletes look at me who are very physically capable, and they're like, this looks impossible. I'll even demonstrate. I'll take a jump, and they're like, whoa, I don't know if I could do that. But then, there's the kid that's like, all right, let me give it a try. Bang! And they go first time, right? They don't even have to really be coached into it. And look, even the athletes that are a little scared going into it, they overcome that fear. They learn to overcome fear, right? I give them strategies on how to overcome this fear and get into the pit so they feel like this is a safe endeavor. I don't know. Who do you think is more brave? The 2-miler or the pole vaulter? I'm going to go with pole vaulter all day. Then on top of it, let's be honest also about this. Kids helicoptering over 8 feet, are not visiting sports psychologists, okay? If they run through, the steps are just completely off. It's like something that has to be coached. An adjustment has to be made. Who's going to the sports psychologist? It's the 12-foot girl, the 13-foot girl, the 14-foot girl, the 15-foot guy, the 16-foot guy, the 17-foot guy. These people are scared? Inappropriately? These people are not brave? They're just mentally, they're weak, huh? This is why they're not taking on. Never mind also the heights I just mentioned, you have to have some physical tools. You're not slow. You're explosive. Probably really strong. Move well. And you just think this is a mental issue. They're inappropriately having their fight or flight turn on. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. And I'll tell you what, you know what? It pisses me off. Because most of the time, the people that are calling these pole vaulters mental are people, coaches, that are probably not physically capable of themselves to do a one left, never mind a three left, or a full approach. Or some sports psychologist who's behind a desk who's never vaulted a day in their life. They don't know what it feels like to go really far right and possibly miss the pit, or land in the box, or get rejected. And they certainly aren't even physically capable of a one. They're not physically capable of like the off the runway drills. And they're calling this vaulter mentally soft. Where are you coming from? How do you know? This is complete bunk. Now, I'm going to give you an example of something that is the right way to think about run-throughs as far as from the sports psychology realm. There's a clip, Fred Duncan, the strength and conditioning coach, posted a clip of a sports psychologist, and he brings up Kobe Bryant. And I think in the clip he mentions it's Kobe Bryant's rookie year. For those of you that don't know, Kobe Bryant is a Hall of Fame basketball player, one of the best basketball players of all time. He modeled his game after Michael Jordan. He even worked with Michael Jordan's strength and conditioning coach, Tim Grover. So dedicated. To the point that Tim Grover, when he started training Kobe, after the Lakers would lose a game at night, it would sometimes be 2 or 3 a.m. Kobe would be doing a workout, drills, and Tim Grover would have to walk up to him and be like, Kobe, you have to go home. Enough is enough. Like, you've put in enough work. I get it. But this is now doing more harm than good. Go home, get some sleep. So a very dedicated athlete, Kobe. So the sports psychologist tells a story that Kobe Bryant is a rookie, and the Lakers are in the playoffs, and Kobe's the star, even as a rookie. He's the phenom. He's supposed to be amazing, right? Well, he's a rookie. And in the final minutes of the game, he misses a few shots that were crucial, and they lose. And the cameras pan to Kobe on the bench after the game, and he's just like this, head in his hands. And the announcer's like, wow, he just must feel awful, missing those shots. And as Kobe's walking off the court to go in the locker room, one of the announcers or reporters, courtside reporters, walks up to him and is like, Kobe, you just missed those shots. You guys lost the game. You must feel terrible. And Kobe looked at the reporter, and he's like, feeling? What do feelings have to do with this? I was sitting down and thinking to myself, why did I miss those shots? What went wrong? What can I do better so that I don't miss them next time? He was developing strategies that will help him overcome that issue. And the sports psychologist goes on to talk about this. He says, that's actually a great way to deal with setbacks. And let's face it, if you're having run-throughs, you're in a setback. And what the sports psychologist said is when you're dealing with a setback, it knocks you off emotionally. And this is why I feel so bad for anybody dealing with run-throughs, because you are knocked off emotionally, and you have all these people inappropriately telling you that you're scared for no reason when we know the danger's in the ball. And because you're emotionally off balance, you buy into it and you're like, yeah, maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe my step is right. Maybe I'm on the right pull and grip and I'm just being scared for no reason. No. That's why you buy that bunk. But it's false. It's a lie. If you're experiencing this setback of run-throughs, what you need to do is start to say, okay, what went wrong? And we have to be more specific than run-through. What does the run look like? What does the carry look like? Where are you running from? Are you running from too far? Are you running from too close? Is the grip too high? Is the pull too big? And again, how are we going to overcome this? What is going to be our strategy to prevent run-throughs in the future? Now, I just did a video where I talked about training and how athletes can only hold a physical peak for 2 weeks in a season. So sometimes, guess what? Let's say you ended the season on a 1580, you might not be able to touch that 1580 until 2 or 3 months down the line when you're physically prepared again. Because too often in the pole vault, people view it as just purely technical. Like there's nothing physical going on. But guys, your biggest pull, your biggest grip is a max effort. You cannot run the 100 with your PR time every single week. You cannot squat your PR 1 rep max every single week. You cannot bench your 1 rep max PR every single week. For those of you that do Olympic lifts, you cannot power clean your 1 rep max every single week. You just can't do it. Otherwise, it's not a real 1 rep max. But in the pole vault, we do push. Especially when we get to those championship meets, you're going for a PR, we get on those really big poles. Guess what? You may not touch that for another 3 months. So now, like this sports psychologist said, what helps you overcome the setback and the destabilizing emotions you feel is like, okay, now let's develop some strategies. Now, I'm going to give you an example. One of my athletes went to a track camp this summer at an Ivy League school. And, you know, they had a high-level vaulter experiencing run-throughs. And guess what this sports psychologist said? This is not a good strategy. This sports psychologist told the athlete that if they start running through and they get scared, that's just their fight or flight turning on, their vagus nerve needs to be calmed down, so they should bring 2 frozen water bottles to the meet. And if they hold the water bottles in their hands, that will calm down their vagus nerve and they'll be able to jump. Now, if you don't know, the placebo effect is 35% effective, guys. So sure, maybe the first time, if that person really believes that, it will work. But eventually, if the person is jumping on poles and grips they're not prepared for, or they have technical problems that are causing them to not move the pole well and not jump the heights that they want, they will have a sketchy jump and start running through again, even with those frozen water bottles. That is not the strategy. What needs to be done is people need to start getting more technical with what they're doing in the vault. Are you running properly? Are you planting on time? Do you have good technique? Do you have a solid technical foundation? Or did you end the season and you know what? You were maxing out and we gripped up and went on a big pole and maybe we moved you too far back on the runway, but it was end of the season. Now your run is really wonky and now we got to bring it back in. We got to move the steps back in. We got to run and jump without being hyper aroused. I mean, guys, I've seen people do short runs, like even 3 laps, where people are like super skipping into their run. They have to like scream before they go. I can tell they're getting jacked up. Like they pick up the pole and it's like, it's a really intense thing. It's like, bro, we're doing 3 lefts. Chill. This should be a very manageable run. It should be a very manageable grip and pull so that you could calmly go through this. And we have to build that stability in your run, plant, and takeoff so we can avoid these run-through issues. And then we have to develop strategies on when are we going to go up a pole? When are we going to go up a grip? I'll tell you a bad idea. Oh, the bar went up, it's a PR? Okay, at this bar, we're gonna go up a pole and grip. That's a bad strategy. Because what if I didn't move the pole that well? We're just gonna go up because the bar went up? That's terrible. Guess what? If I'm squatting and I barely get back up, we can't go up weight. That was my max for the day. Hey, next time, sure. Maybe the weight moves easily, we can go up weight. But I cannot just go up pole and grip because the bar went up. That is not a strategy. That's not how we do this. And look, a lot of you got away with that. At a certain point of your career, you just went up pole and grip all the time, and then you got to a certain point and now you're running through. Well, guess what? You can't do that anymore. Now we have to break it down. You have to learn how to jump without having to be hyper aroused. You can't be jacked up. Let's go back to Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant wasn't throwing chairs. He wasn't flipping out after losing the game. He took a moment, put his head down, and he's being really rational and logical. Like, okay, what do I have to work on? Okay, you're running through. Who cares about what pole and grip you're on at this point? You're not even taking off. Let's break it down. What is making you feel uncomfortable? And I am very sorry. Some of you, the way you've been brought up in this event, you're not aware of your running stride. You're not aware of your last 2 steps setting up for takeoff. You're not aware of your plant timing. Everything just like whizzes by. I mean, I've talked to vaulters that jump really high, and I'm like, oh, okay, what were you trying to do on that jump? And they give me some really BS answers. They don't feel anything. So avoid that phony sports psychology, guys. If you think holding cold water bottles or you think trying to calm your fight or flight is going to help you, well, listen. When a vaulter is scared, we're talking about a demographic of humans that are very brave. They're willing to run down a runway, plant a pole into a metal box, and jump as high as possible and make sure we land in the pit. That is a brave individual. We're also talking about an athletic individual. A vaulter is never inappropriately scared, in my mind. I have not seen too many cases where someone's inappropriately scared. I think you have some appropriate fear of this event and respect for this event. And if we are having run-through issues, we're going to have to dial it back down. We're going to have to slowly build back up. I know that's not an easy answer. I wish holding water bottles that were frozen would help you magically, but that's not going to work. So, especially to any coach that's listening to this, before you call your vaulter mental, please consider, are we jumping on too big of poles all the time? Are we running from full approach too much? Am I paying attention to the run enough? Do I see how they're developing their stride? Do I see their plant timing? Are we setting up for takeoff properly? Does my athlete feel any of this stuff? Or do they just go and they're unaware? Have a good week, everyone.